Well, Shinzo Abe, former prime minister of Japan, has been assassinated during a campaign event. Very shocking to me, at least. This guy's been in office for a large portion of my life. He was a conservative ally to Americans. You know, he and Trump got along pretty well. But of course, just, even if he had been a stone leftist, I wouldn't be like happy to see him assassinated. It seems to me to be part of a trend just throughout the world, and especially in, I guess, Japan's not technically the West, but in, Western inflected countries. Japan is a Western ally. It seems as if this trend of political violence is only increasing, and we've talked before on the show about like why that might be. But I'd like to talk instead today, in respect for the man. I'd like to talk about sort of some of the things he did, and then some of the ways he's being treated in the media. And you can almost tell when they start talking about people the way they're talking about Shinzo Abe that like he was overall a good guy. Because here's NPR, right? Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, a divisive arch-conservative and one of his nation's most powerful and influential figures, right? And somebody put this up, next to the NPR description of Fidel Castro, right? A literal mass murderer, communist tyrant, one of the most prominent international figures of the last half of the 20th century. Castro inspired both passionate love and hate, right? So this is, I mean, an amazing juxtaposition, especially when you consider, now I'm going to read to you from this thread by this guy, Robert Ward, whom I had never heard of before, but he's, an expert in Japan, especially geoeconomics, and he seems to speak the language, and this is a really thorough thread. But he says, it's hard to overstate the transformative importance of Abe's second administration in 2012 to 20. That's a big term, right? 8 years. And like I say, a good portion of my adult life, a lot of people's adult lives, who are currently living, I would think. I guess he got sick, and so his first administration was cut short, and then he got a second go round. He says, both for Japan and the region, one of Japan's most strategically alert prime ministers, he introduced institutional changes, e.g. creating the National Security Council that strengthened Japanese government decision-making and improved Japan's ability to respond to dramatic shifts in regional balance of power. His second administration also ushered in major security reforms, e.g. Japan's first national security strategy in 2013, 2015 legislation to expand FGF role. His second admin also saw Japan start to strategically flex its geo-economic power. He goes on, and I encourage you to read the whole thread, but it's plain that this is this is our ally. When you're talking about a world that includes Vladimir Putin, right? We're talking about a world that includes Xi Jinping, in which like America is fast hemorrhaging respect on the world stage, and dangerous people are out there recognizing the weakness of our administration, and chomping at the bit to seize power and economic control and territory, right? In the context of a world like that, it's obvious that Shinzo Abe is one of the good guys, right? He's one of ours. And so to then turn around and say he's a divisive figure, he's basically called him alt-right, an alt-right domestic terrorist. It turns out, as far as I can tell, this is almost exclusively about his relationship with South Korea, in which, out of national pride, essentially, he sort of tussled with them over the extent to which Japan did or did not commit war crimes involving, comfort women. And this is stuff that, like, I personally don't feel comfortable like inserting myself in, because I just don't know enough about the history and the region to be like, yes, he was on the right side of this, or somebody that knows better than I can judge that sort of. It seems like a very inter-Asian spat that somebody like myself, who is like not super up on Asian politics, like shouldn't really comment on, which is exactly why NPR coming out and like reducing this man's entire legacy to one very simplistic verdict on that interaction, on that conflict, is so distasteful and disgusting and just arrogant. Like, talk about American arrogance. Like, these are the people that turn around and accuse America of being like provincial and nearsighted and not knowing anything about foreign politics. And then they filter everything through the same stupid woke lens, which is like just the most American thing I've ever seen, right? It's the most solipsistic, American obsessed way of interpreting every event. And to do that, and then this is like when the Washington Post said, oh, the austere religious scholar Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, right? Literally a terrorist, right? Like a person with blood seeping through his fingers. This man is an austere religious scholar. But Shinzo Abe, right, because he didn't have the right politically correct opinions about comfort women. Like this man, he was obviously a friend of freedom, obviously strengthened Japan, our ally in the region. This man is, an ultra nationalist. It's just sickening. And it's so reductive and stupid, the way that we frame these things as if like the people that are on the right side of our social issues. It's the same when they say like, oh, well, Ukraine, they don't allow gay marriage, right? They're not very nice to trans people. It's like, shut up. These people, the people that write these stories are like ants under the boot of somebody like Shinzo Abe, right? I mean, like they truly are, they cannot compare to somebody that obviously did great things in his nation. I mean, like, again, not personally qualified to parse the minutia of his of his decisions at each stage, but that's precisely the point. Like a man just died, and you're going to say that the whole assessment of him is going to boil down to like his problems with South Korea because like you don't like conservatives and he was too nice to Trump. I mean, that's what this is really about, right? This is about the fact that Abe was like sort of friendly with Trump. It is. I shouldn't get all worked up about it because it's so predictable at this point. But at least like Soviet Pravda had a little bit of sophistication. I feel like our state media organizations, which is what these really are, these sort of like quasi-state legacy press organizations, I feel like they just lack all subtlety. Like they think we're dumb. But the nice thing is we're actually not dumb, and we can actually see through it. More and more people are seeing through this stuff, and getting tired of the regime's act. And that's part of the point of this YouTube channel. So like check out our other videos, because the whole point of like learning about the longer view of Western history and the historical comparisons that we can make to our moment is that you don't fall for this kind of crap when it comes flashing across your screen and on down the memory hole. So welcome to the Young Heretics YouTube channel, and I hope you'll stick around.